Hi, everyone. Hi. You are the second last talk of the day, and then you'll get some workshop hands-on experience after. I'm here to talk to you about something that's like if you were at Ben's talk, you know how he talks about 7 ladders of UX strategy, and my talk is more like on a more broader level. It's about why we're climbing the ladder in the first place. Maybe you can even interpret as what is a ladder? How are you going to climb the ladder? I'm here to talk to you about how to get to the roots of the user's needs and design for the users as humans. We'll go through some behavioral science, psychology principles, and you'll also learn to kind of change your thinking in like really practicing human-centered design. Before I go any further, actually, who has already studied something along the subject, like design psychology, cognitive science, and so on? Okay, we have a couple people in the room. Who has read an article or have gone through a course that talks about design psychology? Okay, quite a few people. I hope you'll not be bored at today's talk. So my name is Jenny. I'll get out of the way so you can see the slides. My name is Jenny Shen. I'm an independent consultant that work for clients around the world. And I also speak in conferences, I give workshops, and also I mentor designers. I'm a member of TATAL, which is, yesterday you saw that we had a booth, and this is a network of freelance designers, developers, project managers, and financial consultants where we work remotely with clients around the world. And lastly, I am a regional director of EMEA at Ladies at UX. This is a nonprofit organization where our mission is to promote diverse voices and increase female visibility in the UX and in the tech industry. I have worked as a consultant designer. I've worked on plenty of e-commerce projects from Crate and Barrel, a homeware brand, to designing landing pages for SaaS products, and also designing for travel e-commerce. And as a lot of you mentioned that you have probably read some article about design psychology, what I want to do is to give you a quiz. Who's excited about a quiz? In order to do that, you need to take out your mobile phone, and I'll give you more instructions, but please take out your mobile phone and go to this URL, kahoots.it, and I'll set up a game while people are getting to this game on their mobile phone. And in case you need a Wi-Fi password, it is an EBC Wi-Fi, and the password is EBC in capital letters 565786. So go to this URL, kahoots.it, on your mobile phone, kahoot.it. And then when you see that it's connecting and enter a enter the code, this is the code. So let me know who's got it done so far, who already had it set up. Okay, a couple people. I'll give you a few more minutes in case people are still connecting to Wi-Fi. And when most people are connected, I'll set it up. Who needs a bit more time? Who does not have, okay, like a few more people. So kahoot.it, yeah, okay, great. So you enter your name. There we go, let me see. So I'm gonna change the display. Oh, whoops. Okay. So right now we have 74 players. Okay, anybody not in yet? Anybody not in the game yet? Okay, one person. Okay, 2 people. Okay, 3. So right now we have 89 players, 88 players. Someone dropped out. 90 players. And in this quiz, there are 10 questions. So you're gonna see the question on the screen, and you're gonna have like the 4 options, like A, B, C, D on your mobile phone. You're gonna see the question for like 15 seconds, and then you answer it as quickly as you can, well, of course, as correctly as you can. You also get an answer streak. So if you answer correctly in a row, you get bonus point. Oh, wow, we have 105 players. And the winner of the game, I don't have anything to offer, but I can offer you to take a picture with me. Put it on my Twitter to 3,000 followers. Maybe that's some incentive. Okay, we have 111 players. Anyone else still waiting? No? Okay, let's get started. Let's get started. How do I get started? So, I think I'm wondering where the start is. Give me a few more moments. How do I press play? I swear it worked. Yeah, it's weird. Classic. Get ready. Where's the start button? Sorry, technical trouble. Questions. Start. Oh God. We have 112 players, but it's not showing for some reason. Oh, I think, okay, there we go. I'm sorry. I don't know how it happens. Question number 1. Which law states any task will inflate until all of the available time is spent? Answer A, B, C, D from your phone. Okay, we have 2 people got it right. Okay, that's Oscar, Tanya, Duro, Eddie, and Minami. Great job. Question number 2. Sorry, this is going a bit fast. I'll get out of the way so you can see. Question number 2. Gestalt laws are organized into 5 categories. Which is not one of the categories? Oh, we got 80 answers. Come on. Ooh, we have 26 people got it right. It is complexity. Scoreboard MB. MB with 812 points. Get ready for the next question. How many items can average person keep in their working memory according to Miller's law? Okay, we have 40 answers going on. 4 seconds left. Okay, awesome. We have 33 people get it correct with 7 items in the working memory. Oh, Minami, you're doing great. Yay, awesome. Get ready for the next question. What is the Zeigarnik effect? Come on, 9 seconds left. This one has a bit of a longer period because you have to read everything. 5 seconds left. Who has not answered? Ooh, we have 37 people get it correct. Incomplete tasks are easier to remember than successful ones. Scoreboard, Minami still being number 1. 5 questions left. What is the 4th step in a hook model? What is the 4th step in a hook model? Whoa, we only 15 people got it correct. 4th step is investment. Oh, wow, we got Tarkin 88 at the number 1. Question number 6. What is, for Tesla's law, true or false? Ooh, we had 66 people answer correctly with true. Yes, that is the Tesla's law. And Tarkin 88 now at number 1. Minami now on number 3. Question number 7. Dorothy's threshold is to provide system feedback within how many milliseconds? We got 25 people answer correctly with 400 milliseconds. Ready for the next question? Question number 8. What year was the aesthetic usability effect first studied in the HCI field? Ooh, we got just 15 people answer correctly. This is 1995 that the aesthetic usability effect was first studied. Now, Tarkin 88 is taking the first place. Question number 9. Why do we see a moving LED strip when the lights simply turn on and off and actually do not move? So what's the principle that we see that this is a moving LED strip? For some reason the timer is not starting. Come on, move. Technology. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it moves, sometimes it doesn't. Well, we might have to wait. I hope not. Come on. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Now we have to wait 20 seconds. Let's watch the video again. No. I'll come back. Okay. So we got 118 answers, so that's 118 people participating in the game. The answer is the law of Pragnas, with 24 people got it correct. So Tarking 88 at number 1. Oh, Minami, what happened? You quit. The last question. The principle states simplicity is better than complexity. Which UX law is this? That's the Occam's razor with 12 people who got it correct. Okay, who is the winner? Wow, Tu Mama. Tu Mama. Okay, hi Tu Mama. And that's actually 6 questions correct. So great job at the first place, and thank you all for playing. Later you can have after the talking we can have a question, a picture together. Thanks a lot. So I hope you enjoyed the game. It is actually a little surprising that the higher score of the game is 6 point, but I have to say it's going pretty fast. Now that I see it's probably pretty fast, but it kind of shows that maybe there are some things that we can all kind of be reminded of in terms of design psychology. So I want to talk about why I'm giving this talk on design psychology, and that's mainly to do with the state of how psychology and how much psychology is used in a design nowadays. So first, there's minimal use, at least in what I see, there's minimal use of design psychology in our field. And then when we talk about designing for users, sometimes we tend to go for experiments. Sometimes we tend to go with A/B tests and just experiment to see what works for the users. And also, when people use design psychology, it tends to have a bit more form of thought patterns. So as I mentioned, I mentor designer. I mentor about 2 to 4 designers per month. And then I coach them about portfolio, design career, and interviews and whatnot. And I coach people who actually have some background in design. Either they have finished a design course, they're already working designers, or that they are, really motivated, self-taught designers who read a lot. But still, I get comments from my mentees like, I don't know how to design this because I didn't find any references. I designed this layout and then unstuck. Or they use the wrong design patterns at the wrong time, and they feel like they don't actually know how to design along with behavioral science and design principles. So I began to look at where are they getting all this knowledge, design knowledge, and I realized that a lot of people read Medium. Who here also read stuff on Medium? Okay, that's about 80%. That's a lot of people. And what I decided to do is that I decided to look at the 10 case studies on Medium that talk about how somebody uses approach to and design a case study. These are not articles like comparing Figma with Adobe XD. These are like people describing how they get from a problem to a solution. So I looked at how many people actually use design psychology principles in a case studies. And I find that no. 9 out of 10 did not refer to any psychology principles. And the only one that did is this article, Result-Driven UX, The Patterns That Drive Our World, by Justin Baker, the principal product designer at Intuit. In case the design title level is different in Mexico, I guess in the US and in North America, the principal product designer refers to the highest level of contributor that's actually in the design field, like non-manager contributor, design contributor, so that it takes somebody with a ton of experience to include psychology principles in his article. And let's look at which article had the highest number of claps with 1.1K. That's actually Build the Perfect Splash Screen by this author, where he mentioned, first, the splash screen should be quick. How quick? Never more than 2 to 3 seconds. But he does not say why. And then he says, why do you think hotels and big businesses spend so much money on the grand and impressive entrances? Because the moment you walk through the door, you know you're in a place of quality. But he does not go on to explain how humans have the first impression in 0.05 seconds, and this first impression actually affects how we trust the brand and how we feel about the brand. But here he just talked about 2 or 3 seconds and some opinion that's not backed up by science. And in this case study, when you look at how other people choose to design, you read stuff like, my main complaint is that I don't like using the system. The visuals are very basic, and the colors are only 2 colors, the company color of NS, which is the Dutch national railway system. So I didn't know using the company colors will be such a bad idea. And my favorite, I had to cross swords with my teammate. I had designed a placeholder for the banner just under navigation, whereas my teammate had this idea to place some boxes for important information instead. And so I quickly Googled for a proven answer. I feel like that's kind of the state of how a lot of designers choose to do these days, that they design something and then they want to Google for a proven answer to convince their colleague. If you have read this article by Dan Marcaroni and Sarah Doody, the UX of learning UX is broken. It talks about how a quick course with some basic skill, with a portfolio and a certificate does not make one a UX designer. In a similar way, I would like to advocate that knowing how to design and knowing the ideal 5-step design process with knowing some deliverable like a persona or a journey map and reading some Medium articles does not mean that we're practicing human-centered design. I mean, all of the people in these 10 case studies that I actually read all 10 of them, they all most of them follow a ideal 5-step design thinking process, empathize, idea, prototype, test, and so on. It's not like they don't know how to design, but I feel like this is what's missing from the design education these days. And if you were Julia's talk, she talks about how experiments and measuring data can help us bring business value in the design, and that's totally true. And I mean, some company, their culture is totally evolving around quantitative data and A/B testing, like Booking.com, where the whole company is like A/B testing everything. A/B test the shit out of it. If it can be a test, test it. If it cannot be a test, we probably don't do it. But the downside of using A/B testing for everything is that data cannot tell you why. You can only post-rationalize and try to think like, why did A win over B? But actually, you'd still need to do some other things or know design principles, psychology principles, in order to kind of have a strong hypothesis. And lastly, when we see psychology in design, is usually in dark patterns, like automatically take, sell my soul to the devil, and then you will like sign up, you'll confirm without actually realizing it. So imagine that you are now with some power to convince your colleague with a strong rationale, because now you know what humans actually think and do and how we make decisions. And now, because of this knowledge, we can design effectively, even without a strong A/B testing tool. I'm not saying that we don't need experiments. I'm saying that not every company has like a strong A/B testing platform like Booking.com. And also, we can feel more confident in explaining and teaching design to younger designers or junior members in the team and feel like we're the pro designers. So let me give you a little refresher on cognitive psychology. So I will talk about a few psychology principles because from the game, we can see that we all need a little reminder and it's still nice to learn. So the first myth about design is that appearance does not matter. It is all about the user experience. Sometimes we hear interaction designers say this, or sometimes even like working designers, learning designers think that visual design does not matter. Okay, let's compare these two products. On the left, we have a BlackBerry. On the right, we have an iPhone. Who thinks the BlackBerry is more usable? Okay, one person, two people. Okay, who thinks the iPhone is more user-friendly? Okay, a lot of people, like pretty much everyone. And who has actually used the BlackBerry before? That's a lot of people. That's great. So we have used the BlackBerry, and then and in comparison, we found that iPhone is more usable. Sometimes when being tested with these two products, even people who have not used BlackBerry can think that iPhone is more user-friendly just because of appearance. Like, look, this nice wallpaper, cute icons, and then on the other hand, you have a cluttered interface with a lot of buttons. And this is due to the aesthetic usability effect, where users perceive aesthetic pleasing design as design that's more usable. Users are more tolerant of minor usability issues when they find an interface visually appealing. So in other words, like BlackBerry and iPhone, even if you present to people who have never used a BlackBerry, this aesthetic usability effect makes them to think that, well, the iPhone being more visually pleasing, it's probably more usable. And this study is done in 1995, where two researchers at Hitachi Design Center tested 26 ATM UI variations on 252 people. Then they asked the participant to rate the ease of use and the aesthetics of the ATM UI. So they found a correlation between the aesthetics and the perceived usability over aesthetics and actual usability. So their conclusion of the test is that users are strongly influenced by the aesthetics of any given interface, even when they are trying to evaluate the underlying functionality. So the next time you have interaction, talk to you about like, no, we need to get this flow right. Like just, we don't need to spend that much time on UI design or icon design or animations and whatnot. Remember aesthetic usability effect, that if a product actually looks better, the users are more likely to put up with the UX issues. And next, we all use design patterns. Like we know what a hamburger menu is, we know what a footer is, and we know what's a modal. But why do we actually use design patterns? Like why do we use stuff like breadcrumbs? This is because of Jacob's law that users spend most of their time on other sites. It means that users prefer your site that work the same way as all the other sites. So Jacob, to make it super obvious, Jacob is Jacob Nielsen. That's like one of the pioneers of the HCI field. And this is also because of a cognitive load. That means the mental effort required to learn new information. So when the user stumble upon the site and they have to pause and like think about how does the website navigate? Like how do I navigate this website? Is it a vertical scroll? Is it a horizontal scroll? If you kind of change the way how users are supposed to used to use it, you change like you do something that's different from their mental model, then the user have to spend extra cognitive load and user attention, which is a very precious resource. So as designers, we should strive to eliminate or minimize the extra cognitive load by using patterns so that the users are more familiar with your product or with your site. So we think this is a very obvious thing, like, yeah, use design patterns, like don't do anything very, different and creative. But sometimes you also encounter real examples where they are not following this principle. This is one of my previous clients, and when I was consulting with them, they asked me to kind of audit their site, and I stumbled upon this date picker. So this client offered on-demand working and meeting spaces. So in other words, they were selling spaces like you can book a full day workshop, you can book like a half day meeting, you can book like a 1 hour co-working desk. So this kind of calendar needs to account for all kinds of different use cases to allow the user to book different period. So what I decided to do is that this is a default functionality, is that you will then tap on like each half-hour slot, because then you might book 1 hour, you might book half a day, or you might book a full day. But when it's intended to be used like this, you're supposed to do drag and drop on this date picker. But when we were doing usability tests, we found out that nobody knew about the drag and drop functionality. Everybody was tapping on a half-hour block, even when they need to book an entire day. So imagine user tapping 16 block to book an entire day of workshop. So that's not of really good usability. What I should have done instead is to offer a more conventional date picker, like a calendar. The user just select the dates and choose a start time, choose an ending time. Like this is very straightforward, and there's like pretty much no other way that you can do this wrong, unlike the previous design. Also, we keep talking about making it easy for the user, we give them less choices, and don't overwhelm the user. But what's the principle behind giving user less choices? This is also, again, due to the cognitive load that the user attention is very scarce. That the human brain is always looking for shortcuts to not make any decision as possible and just kind of be guided with whatever the design or interface want us to do. And this is the Higgs law, why give users less choices. Because when we give users a lot of options, it takes the user a longer time to make a decision. So when users are bombarded with choices, it takes more time for them to interpret it, what they want, what they need to do. And sometimes the decision paralysis, they just like don't make any decision at all when you give them too many choices. So the application in product is, for example, designing a remote. You can design it like Samsung, offering like hundreds of buttons for the user to press, or you can design something like Apple remotes that is very minimal and it's like focused on the main functions that user can do instead of offering them all of the choices possible. And in terms of web design or mobile design, it is recommended to like anchor, to kind of provide one recommendation for the user, like in pricing tables. Tell the user that if it's popular, like put a popular tag on it so that user, when they see this pricing table, they automatically like don't have to decide what is the best plan and they just go with the most popular or the most recommended one. I've also had a lot of experience designing loyalty program, just like how Ben mentioned that 7-Eleven has a reward program. So I worked at Gimme in Singapore in 2013, and we have a product designing for publishers like different telcos, and also we had like a publisher that's like National Bookstore, Tiger Beers, and so on. And what we do is that we provide an API for them to integrate this loyalty program onto their product. And we had clients like Friendster and Smarts, Touch and Games, where we integrate, like for example, like badges. We implement like point system. We implement reward catalog, and so on for these publishers in Southeast Asia region. And one of the required readings that we had to do in the company was Neil Ayre and Ryan Hoover's book, The Hook Model. Who here has read the book Hook Model as well? Okay, we have quite a few people. So Hook Model explains how to build habit-forming product. And that's starting from a trigger, like if you brushing the teeth, your trigger might be that you are going to bed, or you just woke up, or you have like some nasty smells from your mouth. So this is a trigger, and then triggers you to perform an action like brushing your teeth or floss. And then after you floss or after you brush your teeth, you'll get a reward. That might be like the minty, fresh sensation in your mouth, or that maybe people are telling you, oh, you smell great, you smell so fresh today. Or that maybe you get a kiss. And over time, when you start to get these rewards, you start to invest in in this thing, like you can buy better toothbrush, you buy like more expensive, like nicer toothpaste, kind of in this habit forming loop. And at Gimme, we trigger with notifications. We allow the user to perform an action that give them the reward. The reward that we provide them is like intangible reward, like badges, and we also offer a reward catalog. And over time, the user starts to visit their profile and catalog to gain better rewards and better points and so on. So to map it onto our product is that we have notification, like we remind the user, hey, today's feature reward, you get like a 2-for-1 coupon at Coffee Beans. And when a user actually posts, for example, like earn 5 points for posting to Facebook, we give them, so this is the action user take, and then they can then visit the catalog to redeem the reward with those points, and then they get this profile that they start to invest in. So in this profile, we also use several psychology principles, like the Zeigarnik effect, that the incomplete tasks are easier to remember than complete ones, like this level bar right here, that you're going to be reminded that there are 600 points left until you get to the next level. And also the endowment effect, that we place greater value on object if we have already invested in something, like we already had 2 rewards, we already have 2 levels. It would just be a shame to give it all up. Also the pattern completion, that the human have a need for closure. When we see an incomplete bar, like progress bar, we kind of have a little motivation to want to close this gap and kind of level up to get to the ultimate level. We also offer a leaderboard. This is using the principle of competition, which is the Darwinian evolutionary theory, survival of the fittest, that humans actually tend to compete with each other to be the best performing person in a group. So we offer a leaderboard for the users in the same platform to compete with each other. We also offer them intangible rewards like badges, because we want the users to feel that they are of personal or social significance. When they get a badge, they feel like, hey, I'm special, like other people actually don't have it, but I have unlocked this badge. And because of using these principles to design habit-forming product, we were successful to help our publishers increase engagement rate by 8 times, including time spent on site, social media share, and all the other engagement metrics. However, that's kind of like how I would apply it, but let's also look at how other people have applied psychology in design, and I call this the dark side. Well, at least I stumbled upon a lot of people who kind of practice it on the dark side. So behold, every website in 2018. You block notification, you close pop-ups, you like enter your email, you enter your date of birth. You should city, New York. Do you want to subscribe to our newsletter? Do you want to chat with our support team? Did you find what you're looking for? Oh, and something didn't work. That's very unfortunate. And you also see sites apply dark psychology like this. So this European airline, Ryanair, is an airline where you can book flights online, and then they automatically include travel insurance. Now, to opt out of travel insurance, there's actually no button to opt out, but instead you have to select the drop-down of your residence, and you will find "Don't insure me" under Denmark, under the alphabet D. So like, how would you actually know where to opt out of the insurance? And then you also have this old bike company where you can like pay a deposit and you can rent bikes over. And according to the instruction, you can get your deposit back and cancel your membership by pressing the button. But guess what? There is no button on the actual screenshots, and people are complaining about it on Twitter for very reasonable, very reasonable. And you have like sneaking items into your basket, make MSN your homepage, or using an emoji to pretend that this message has not been read, so people will actually tap on it. You can see that people are not happy with how dark patterns have been applied so far, like using stress to rush a decision, like, oh, bike again, or like inviting all your friends when you sign up for Quora. That's something that we don't want to do, but the company made us to do it. And not only companies are doing it, I feel a lot of consultants are doing it too. So if you read the marketing landing page, this person is selling a consultation. Imagine knowing exactly what to do next. Imagine someone who has been to your shoes. You might feel overwhelmed and unsure. The plan is not perfect in your head. Imagine having the influence and advice of a trusted peer to help you and realize your full potential. Imagine knowing exactly what to do next. This is using emotional targeting at the user's aspirations. It's getting the user to imagine like this great self, more successful self. I will be perfect. Then, I really feel compelled to book this person for a consultation. But that's actually appealing to the user's emotions using psychology tricks. And also a UX practitioner, she's also very good at it, and she applied this to her own landing page. What's stopping you from getting the next level into UX career? You hesitate, you don't even apply. You spend all weekend to get your portfolio, but oh no, the position is gone on Monday. Imagine how your life would change. Imagine you had everything you need. How would your career look different in 3 months? Does it sound familiar? I'm so embarrassed by my portfolio. This is emotionally draining. I'm totally overwhelmed. I keep doubting my skills. Does any of this all sound familiar to you? Doing it alone is overwhelming and very time-consuming. She's very good at using emotional targeting at a user's aspirations and fear. Like using this, imagine that, like what's stopping you? You're overwhelmed. It's getting the user to kind of put themselves into this imagination. I suck. I cannot do anything. I need her to help me in the UX, in my UX career. But personally, you can probably tell I'm not a big fan of this. So I begin to wonder, can we do this differently? Are we able to kind of promote our services or earn a living and not use these sort of dark psychology tricks? So I'm a mentor as well, and I also sell consultation. I also sell mentorship calls, and this is my landing page. This is what it looks like. So in this page, I just talk about like what is mentorship can help you. I do have some logos. I have some information about me, why I'm mentoring, how it works, the cost, some testimonials, and then I have a FAQ that explains like I offer refunds, like how do you choose mentees, and so on. When you break it down, you see that how I describe myself is I talk about my mentor experience. I talk about like what you get, like one video call per month. And then of course I offer some testimonials, 100% authentic, because I ask them, hey, can you provide a testimony for me? And they happily agree. And when you look at like the application, how it works, I just say this is the deadline. This is the application form, fill it out, and then the fee, the schedule. There's no trick, no surprises, no limited time discounts, and you don't need to sign up a newsletter that's going to remind you every single day that there's one spot left. I don't like to do that. But despite not having these sort of dark psychology tricks, I was able to have 11.5 conversion rate over just 1 week advertising it without any paid ads. And when you compare it with the standard benchmark conversion rate, that's between 3% to 4%. This conversion rate is still double to triple of the standard conversion rate. And in fact, this is doing very well. So now I have the pleasure of mentoring 2 to 4 designers every month, and I offer workshop, I offer consultation, portfolio reviews, and so on. And I feel happy about that, because maybe if I use the sort of emotional targeting way to market my landing page, maybe I will have more mentees. But then again, I will maybe feel bad for tricking them into paying me just because there's a limited time discount. So I'm advocating that you can design a landing page without these sort of emotional marketing. And I like to talk about the ethics and our responsibility as designers when applying psychology in design. So we have a scale from honest UI to dark patterns, where if we're just designing the user's need, we are completely honest, but we are prioritizing the user's need at the expense of a company's sales gains. But if we focus towards a company's interest, then it starts to become more and more dark, and some companies will even do so much to deceive the users and lying about like limited quantity available. That's being very deceptive. So one important question we can explore is using psychology ethical? Is it actually ethical to design in such a way that motivate a user to perform such an action, like signing up and paying and stuff? I like to point to a quote by Richard and Cass from the two architects, and they wrote a book, Nudge, that mentioned there is no such thing as neutral design. So as a designer, we have the power to nudge a user in either direction, in the interest of a company or in the interest of the user. In every decision that we make, it should be intentional. So therefore, there's no neutral design because we have to make decisions about everything. And in terms of applying or in terms of like ethics in design, remember everyone's scale of ethic is different. Something that feels ethical to you might feel unethical to another. Also, ethics are highly subjective. You have people have also the debate on different application of ethics. But what the users don't like, and like the backlash slide I showed you how users are complaining, we don't like it when companies trick us into doing things that we later regret. So remember this usability principle, Jacob Nielsen's 10 usability heuristic for interface design. User control and freedom. This is one of the design principles that we should all know. Don't take away the user's control and freedom. So my take on ethic is that using psychology in design is not unethical because there's no neutral design. But unless you intentionally deceive the user or takes away their freedom to do something against company interests, then it is not unethical. Also, if one thing that you take away from today's talk is this quote, just because you can doesn't mean you should. What I'd like all of you to think about is that I hope that we can start practicing ethical and humane design methods. And I'd like to advocate that we have the responsibility to educate others about design psychology, like to our colleagues, to our stakeholders. We are not the one to like Google for a proven answer, but just educate your colleague, your stakeholder about design principle, design psychology. Show that you know your stuff. And also, we have a responsibility to shape the design education. Remember the Median article that I was talking to you about? Well, 9 out of 10 don't mention any design principles or design psychology, but we have the power to change that. Any of us can write a Median article, but only some people, like who are intentional about it, can write a good article. I would like to encourage all of you to start advocating for heuristic and principles over tactics like change this button in this color. Like now let's start getting to the root of users' need and design for fundamental human behaviors. And together we can make our industries and designs more humane. If you like this talk, I'm actually a panelist on the upcoming TopTal webinar on ethics in design. That's on December 7th, and it will be in 11 a.m. in Guadalajara. So it's a free webinar when anybody can join. So I'm a panelist with Bill and also Jan David, and it will be moderated by our lead director of design. So ethics in design panel, if you like this talk, I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Por favor, un aplauso a Jenny. Vamos a dar 10 minutos de preguntas. Jenny, please receive this gift, the part of all the UX team. Preguntas, ¿quién levante la mano? No. ¿Todo quedó claro? Sí, salte por no poner atención.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you for your talk. So I wanted to ask you, last month I read this article that's, I think, really popular in media right now, exactly, from a professor of human-computer interaction in a university in Europe, don't remember which one. So he was talking about why all websites look the same, and I don't know if you read it. What he says is that right now, a lot of designers, most of them who maybe don't have psychology principles behind, all try to make their landing pages or all websites look the same. He does like this comparison between Dribble and Behance, like they all look exactly the same. And he actually makes his students do exercises of redesigning websites like Hacker News, Medium, Wired. So he states that we've lost creativity and conceptual part of design, taking into account what the website is for and designing according to it, because a lot of designers are mainly based on principles like fixed usability principles, and that spiked a really big discussion between creativity and usability. So I'd just like to hear your input on that, or what do you think?
So what is, sorry, like, are you asking me to comment on that, or do you have a particular question about?
Just asking you to comment on that. Like he has his specific way of thinking, and it has spiked a really big discussion between conceptual designers and UX designers. So just what you think, like the space between usability and creativity can be considering design principles.
Okay, the space of usability and creativity. So I forgot which speaker said it. I think it's probably garbled, but he said like design is science, and science is very different from art. So if you ask me personally, like my type of UX design, my type of design is like creative ad campaign and do stuff that's like really unusual, because in marketing, in ads, in like advertisement, you do need to be very unique for user to remember you, and that's like associate your brand with certain type of creativity. But in terms of user experience, like I was talking about the design patterns, if you break that user mental model, and they're gonna be frustrated because they don't know how to use it. So first, I would like to I would say like UX is not art, at least as my personal opinion. UX is not art, and why should we be required to be creative when we are designing like a software? And I think I might have read an article, and I also have come across some people who talk about this. And I would say like the reason why a lot of sites look the same is not just because they are designing for principles. In fact, I dare say that they look the same because they are copying each other. Because like, oh, Stripe website looks so awesome, or like Slack website look awesome, let's start using illustrations. And then they hired the same illustrator that did Slack design, and then now a lot of the things start to look the same. I would not say it's because like, oh, this is the design principle. It's more like they really just copy each other. But still, if you're working in a different context, if you're working in a different field that require creativity, of course, go for it. I'm not saying like, oh, ad campaign should look the same, because you do need, there are like different purposes, right? You're designing for a purpose. So it depends on what your purpose is, and you kind of lean toward designing for art, designing for art, designing for impression, or you design for usability.
Thank you.
Otra pregunta. Está levantando la mano, tapándote el sol, ¿o qué?
Hi, thank you. Well, I have another question also about like yesterday from students, because we test some students and we asked about this thing of rewards, and they were kind of scared of it. They don't want to live in a Black Mirror episode, so. Yeah, so what's your thought about that? I mean, what is the line between a reward that feels good and a reward that makes you feel bad because you don't have it?
I don't quite understand your question. What do you mean reward that feels bad?
Yeah, because if you don't have that reward, maybe you are not like a good person.
Right. So like in terms of like loyalty program, because you don't have the reward and you feel bad. I don't know what to say about that actually, and I don't know if the users they actually feel bad or if they actually cared. I think my hypothesis is that if they actually care, they will actually try to do something. But then maybe if they don't, then yeah, maybe they'll feel bad. But maybe that becomes a motivation for them to work harder. Because I guess it depends on like what kind of reward you're talking about. You can say it in terms of like school, like you do need a good grade. But in terms of loyalty program, it's like an add-on. It's not like one of a necessity. Like if you don't have a reward, then you like fail a class or something. So I would say these are, it depends on the context. And I don't know much about, unless like, you know, we're talking depth about like what exactly the context is, what exactly the situation is, what exactly did the user say, what exactly user feel. I'm afraid like I don't really know much about like user feel bad. At least in my case, we haven't come across like user complaining that they feel bad. Most of the time they just try to game the system.
Thank you.
There was one question, and yeah. Should I hand the microphone? Do we have another microphone?
Yes.
Oh,
Where is the other
Over there.
question?
Hi, Jenny. I really love the presentation. Here's the thing. I work with an app. My bosses are a doctor in psychoanalysis, a master in behavior and cognitive and behavior analysis, and the other one, it's a master in cognitive and behavior analysis too. But now what we do is we do therapy through the app. I think sometimes we see them as users, like psychologists are users of our app. How do you think we can like make them part of our team design? Because they know the principles, they know how we behave, how we are supposed to interact with an app. But we are not sure how can we bring them on in the design team, because they are the specialists that we have.
yeah. So that's like how. So the question is more about like how do you involve the users with domain knowledge into your design process? Airbnb is really good at this, and there also you can look up co-creation technique and facilitation. Like Ben was saying, you know, with design we need to not just put headphones on and design. Like we need to be making relationship with stakeholder. We need to be making relationship with the users. We can invite them, facilitate some kind of workshop, and get their input. Like for example, if you know this design sprint by Google, and like I think a second day the stakeholder interview, then you actually invite people with domain knowledge to help on give you the feedback and even do some co-creation brainstorming exercises. So I would encourage you to look up co-creation. And also Airbnb, like I think they wrote some case studies, and many other companies wrote about how to co-create with users. But I'm very happy to hear that you're doing that. Another question?
Yeah.
Also, we have two right there. I think you can go first.
Thanks, Jenny. Do you think that a master's degree or a PhD is a must for designers to successfully apply psychology in our projects? Or if not, what is the low-hanging fruit?
Yeah, that one so my background is that I have a interaction design degree with Bachelor of Science. So that's maybe why like I kind of tend to have a more strong foundation of like applying like all of this stuff, like Jacob Nielsen's 10 heuristic, like we apply it. Usability tests, we learn it in university, like we do it for every single project. So I would say like because of my degree, I have a pretty strong foundation, but that's not the case for everyone. But still, there are some self-taught designers who really are interested in, they read a lot. So I don't really know if a master degree is needed. If you don't have a design degree, like bachelor or college, then maybe that's something you can consider. Yeah, I don't know, because I have this bachelor degree, so I cannot tell you like, if I don't have a bachelor degree, would I go for a master, or do I just studied a lot? I would say just like don't focus on just stuff like persona, like don't focus on just a deliverable persona, journey map, wireframe, and prototype, and so on. Sometimes have a critical eye onto your own work and think about like, what is the user's motivations here? So I'm afraid I cannot be any more helpful. But yeah, like maybe there are some online courses or maybe like offline courses about design psychology that you can take that I wouldn't know how the case is in Mexico. But I would say like knowing design psychology principle is very useful in terms of design work.
Okay.
Hi, Annie. As you say, there is no such thing as neutral design. And yesterday, Susan gave us some advice to fight the dark sides of design, as stand out and to propose something different, you have some other advice that we can use to fight that design and user research and psychology is used to users take bad decisions?
So just make sure that I understand your question correctly. Like, what can we do so that our design are not like falling towards the dark side?
When we know that it's used, when we know that information or data is used bad, it's used to make bad.
Quit the company. No. No, I mean, like, in terms of like design ethic responsibility, if you know that a design is being used very bad, well, first, like, see who is in charge. Like, why is it used bad? Do they realize it's doing bad? And maybe if they know that everybody is doing the same way, then maybe like you kind of don't want to be involved. Because so who knows Mike Montero? Who have heard of Mike Montero? Okay, of quite a couple of people. So he's like an advocate for practicing ethical design, and he gave a great presentation like called "How to Build an Atomic Bomb," and he talks in depth about. You can find this presentation on Mike Montero, and he says the work that we're putting out in the world, other people are going to associate you with it. Like if you design something where are used for bad purposes, people are going to remember you. Oh, you're the designer that designed this thing, like bad thing. So do we want to be involved? Do we want to be associated when you know that the data is being used in a bad way? And another way that I will suggest is try to find data where users complain about it. So I showed like a slide of people are like not happy, and like Quora, when you sign up, if you sign up with Facebook, you know, it's connected to your Facebook, you have all your friends and everything. Quora sends an email inviting all of her friends into Quora. And she is actually like the founder of Creative Morning. She's like very influential. So if she's not happy about, Quora's like, shit, we gotta do something. So try to find this kind of data, like where user is complaining about, why are you using my data that way? And like this kind of backlash, unfortunately, will be one of the bigger motivator for company than like one person in a company like, hey, we need to do something right. But personally, like my take, like I wouldn't want to be associated with a company that's doing things in an incorrect and unethical way. Because you cannot even like, how would you show it on your portfolio to other employers? But at least I don't want to do that.
Vamos con una última pregunta y después vamos a ir a un descanso.
Hello. So following up on the previous question about the rewards, feeling bad, I think the difference is like the rewards and the pointing system. Like, you know, in China with the finance and everything that you're not allowed to get some things based on your score. Do you see a correlation between rewards system and a pointing system? Like, could be that connected in somehow?
I don't understand your question of a reward system and a point system. Oh, you mean like government, China's pointing system and reward system? And what do you mean by the connection or correlation?
I mean, do
What's
you
the
see
hypothesis?
in the future if a reward system could get to a pointing system? And for example, in some app, like you started with the reward system, but then you're only accessing to some stuff, and then you're excluding the rest of the people, and it's becoming a pointing system to be allowed to certain things. You know?
So yeah, like China's point system for their citizen is very different from designing a product and you're trying to reward engagement. So in terms of like China's point system, I personally think is very scary, and I wouldn't want to be associated because like it has to do with like the government knows everything about you and whatever you do. It's not just using one product, it's everything in your life, and therefore the ethics of that becomes a much bigger question than like rewarding 7-Eleven product use. So in terms of exclusivity, and so like some products are meant to be exclusive, like private, like VIP sale, exclusive sales. There are some company who basically like are very popular just because they are exclusive. So I would say that we cannot compare in the same scale. Like just because like 7-Eleven has a reward program, it does not mean like, you know, we can compare with China measuring every citizen and giving points and minus points for everything that they do. I feel like it's a very different context and different discussion.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Un aplauso para Jenny Shen, por favor. Thank you so much, Jenny.